Hello and welcome back to the channel for Everyday Light. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and are you wondering which college you should attend? Well, if you are, this video is for you. These are some of my personal suggestions for things that can help you when you're considering which college you want to attend. So stay tuned and let's hop right in. Alrighty. So these are my personal suggestions, and a lot of these are from either personal experience or things that I've watched others go through. So perhaps things that I would have told myself when I was younger, and I believe these will be a blessing and an encouragement to you. So these are not doctrine, these are my personal suggestions. But number one would be find a college that has the program that you want and has the proper accreditations. So you want to, whatever field of study you want to go into, you obviously want to find a college that has that program, and probably that they're well known for being good at that program and have a successful graduation rate, and they produce a lot of good employees for that program. You also want to check to make sure that they're properly accredited. So there's a few schools where they'll have the same program as a lot of other schools in name, but they don't have the proper credentials. So I've seen it where, and this seems to be in more licensed professions where you need certain licenses, but I've seen it where, these people went through a couple of years of school, but then they found out, oh, well, this doesn't have the proper accreditation, so now I need to transfer to this school and go here. So you can save yourself a lot of time, energy, and heartache just by researching that beforehand, checking it out, make sure they have the program, make sure they have the proper accreditation, and go from there. So that would be my first point. Number two, so this would be find a school that has an average ACT, SAT score that aligns with what you got. And you can retake the ACT, SAT to try to get a better score. But whatever score you get, you want to, the schools you apply to, look at their average ACT, SAT score. So you can go online and look at this. Some schools will give you a pamphlet when you're like a junior or senior. You want to look at the schools where you have an average SAT or ACT score that's going to place you somewhere in the middle or slightly above average of that one. So, if the range is, this college's average is 18 to 22 or 18 to 24. If it's 18 to 22, if you're sitting at a 21, 22, you're solid. If it's like 18 to 24, you want to be on that, 22, 23, 24 scale. If the range is if the average, and some sites online just give a single number for the average. So if the average is 27, then, and say you got a 26, well, that's going to put you at the lower end. So you might be better off going to a school where the average is a 24. Now, an example I think of this is with Ivy League schools. Say you get a 34 on the ACT, which is a really good score. Now, the average for somewhere like an Ivy League might be 35, and everyone there is getting 4.0 GPAs and scoring 35 on the ACT, which a perfect score is 36. So unless you just want to go there to say, I got into such and such school, you could do that. But I wouldn't recommend doing that just to try to impress people. You got to do what's best for you, right? So say you got like a 33 on the ACT, which is a really good score. You might be better off, instead of trying to get into the Ivy League where you're going to be like at the lower end, you might be better off applying to one where you would be more towards slightly above average or higher, instead of one of the Ivy League schools. So those are some things to consider when doing that. I kind of think of it like with a track meet, right? So you have first heat, second heat, third heat, right? So the first heat's all the really fast people, right? The best times. Second heat, third heat. Well, a lot of people in the second heat might be getting really good times. So, but if you throw one of those people in the first heat, they're going to look slow because they're running with people who are getting, the best out of the best scores. But because they're running with the best, it looks like they're slower than they actually are. Whereas you put those people in the second heat, it's like, man, they're pretty fast. And put those people in the third heat, and it's like, they're the fastest. So that's just an analogy, but so those are my recommendations for that, and I think that'll help you. That would be recommendation number 2. Look at the average ACT, SAT scores. All right, number 3. So this one would be, consider a school that is local to where you live. So after you graduate, there's going to be a lot of job fairs. There could be networking events. There could be professional headshots for free. These are all things that can help you. There's going to be a lot of relationships and partnerships that the university has with different employers in the area, right? So if the school you go to is 3 hours away, it's going to be kind of difficult to attend those events, because it's 3 hours away. Whereas if you go to somewhere local, say the college that's 30 minutes away, people know it, and when they have these sorts of events, it'll be pretty easy for you to go to these. So that's another thing to consider. Consider the local college. And I know a lot of people just kind of, when they graduate, want to get away from home, but it is something to consider. So unless you're getting like a scholarship to somewhere that's pretty far away, really consider, hey, which colleges are around where I live, where maybe I wouldn't have to pay for room and board, and I could just go there. Because you will find that, yes, after you graduate, it'll really help you. Now, if you knew that you wanted to live in whatever city that's 3 hours away after you graduate, and you have like your mindset there, like, yes, after I graduate, that's where I want to live, then that makes sense if you want to go to that college. But I kind of think of it as like, home field advantage in a way. If you go to the school that's 3 hours away, all the people who are local there, they all have that local advantage because they're, when they have events and stuff, it's going to be pretty close. But if you're all the way over here, it's going to be different. So it's something to consider. And it's not saying that, it can't work or you won't find employment, but it's just saying it might make things easier on you. So my fourth tip would be to find a college where, if you're a Christian, you will want to consider whether you want to go to a secular or a Christian college. And here's some things for you to consider. Now, if you get a scholarship, you might have to consider that. But if you go to a secular college, most of the professors, it's going to be, you teach and here's your work and do your assignment. You do the work, you move on, you pass the class, everything's good. Now, every now and then, there is a chance if you go to a secular college, you may get that professor who's going to use their platform to mock Christians, Christian values, Christian morals, Christians themselves. And if you're in that class and you need it to graduate, you're going to have to listen to that for a whole semester. Maybe more if this professor is teaching more than one class that you end up having. So you have to ask yourself, is that something that you really want to deal with for that whole semester? So that's definitely something I would consider. But again, most professors are great and they're kind and helpful and just want you to succeed. The other thing is, if you go to a Christian university, you'll find people of like faith, like mind, who are likely to be on the same track, and not to mention potential spouse. So those are some things to consider that I would think about when you're considering which university to attend, the secular versus Christian environment. And then there's also some private schools that aren't necessarily Christian, but they might not have as much of the other things that are likely to happen. So those are some things to consider. And I believe those are all my points. All right, well, those are my 4 suggestions for when you're considering which college to attend. And so I would make sure they have the program and accreditations that you need to graduate. I would look at their average SAT, ACT scores and make sure you're aligned with that. I would consider the local university. And then I would make sure it aligns with your spiritual or moral values. So those are 4 things I recommend. And then also, pray about it. Talk to 3 godly people in your life. See what they would say. And, in the multitude of counselors, there's safety. Who knows? They may know something or have insight about you that you don't, sometimes others can see things about us that we can't see in ourselves, and that'll be a blessing. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it has encouraged you and has given you some things to think about. And if I've been a blessing to you, please give the video a like and subscribe. And I hope you have a wonderful day. See you next time.